All right, we are live. Welcome to the Phantom Zone. I believe this is episode 8. I'm Retro Tigo, also known as Jason. And I'm joined, as always, by my buddy Tim, aka the Comic Collector.
What's up?
How's it going?
Doing good. You caught me off guard. I thought you were going to say like episode 5 or 6.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Go out there, baby. Sorry, 2-year-old.
Yeah, no, it's I'm dealing with that right now. My wife is a saint for taking care of my what is she, 14 months now? 14 months old.
So I know I've seen some pictures, but like, is she full walking yet?
She has started kind of taking little shuffle steps here and there.
That's when it gets real fun. That's when the crying goes down a little bit, but the trouble goes up.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because she's already, if like I keep telling anyone who comes into the house, my mom and her, that it's just anything that you think you've done to like not gain her attention is the exact thing that she immediately focuses on. It's like we have baby gates, and if we leave it open for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what she's doing. It's like the bat signal. It's like, oh, there's an open baby gate. I'm gone. It's like, but how did you even see that it was open?
Yeah. My first one was an escape artist.
Really?
like she could open child gates. She would pile stuff up and climb over, and like,
oh wow,
like you couldn't keep her trapped.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day that we hear a thunk and she's managed to crawl over her crib walls.
Yeah, it's coming.
So real quick, for those who don't know, Tim and I have essentially right around the same age, 1-year-olds. My daughter's about 2 months older than Tim's youngest. So we share a lot in common currently with the 1-year-old. So
I know briefly what's coming for you, because I got I think she's 2 years and 5 months, the other one. So
yeah. So at least you know what's coming with the 1-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. So
but yes, welcome to the Phantom Zone, YouTube's probably only show dedicated purely to Superman and the exploits of Superman.
Which is such a shame, because he's like the hero, you know?
Right. And tonight we'll be covering a stretch of Batman and Superman that covers a Kryptonite storyline. We had the idea last episode was the first time that we did it on air, but we had started talking about doing a few episodes dedicated to the one thing that can truly kill Superman, I think.
Yeah.
And this storyline sure does kind of come close in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's definitely, I remembered it was good, but I really enjoyed it. Recently I've hit some burnout with comics, and I've even like not been looking forward to reading stuff for the shows. But reading this, it almost like re-energizes you, like, oh yeah, like there's good comics you could be reading, you know?
Right. Unlike, I happen to have it right here. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't a fan. I was already feeling burnt out, and that happened, and it was just like, I have no will to read comics in the immediate future.
Yeah, I think I hit my burnout probably this past week. This was the first week where I didn't really feel like going to any of the comic shops. There wasn't really anything new out that I'm reading. I'm not reading. I think I'm reading like 2 current titles or something. And then even STL Comics like didn't really have an interest in like heading out there. So hopefully it's just kind of a summer.
You know what I think it was? At least for me, I think when Corona hit and you couldn't, go out, we all wanted to, and a lot of us, especially YouTubers, were buying online, like maybe trying mystery boxes or going to like STL online sales, doing stuff like that. And it was like that desperation. Well, if I don't go buy something online, I can't go out. Well, then at least here in St. Louis, we were able to go out again. And once you went out a couple times, like that burnout, I think it's partial comic burnout and partial like the Corona catching up to you. Because at least I was focused on like I can't wait to go hunting again, and that like at least got me a lot through Corona. And then now it's like pretty much over in the comic sense, and it's like I bought so many comics during Corona.
Right. It's like I've probably got 3 short boxes full of comics from the last month and a half alone.
I know it's like when I met you, you were talking about you were pretty picky. You didn't have like a huge collection. It's like since I've known you, you've been buying.
Yeah, I really whittled down my collection over the last several years, and within the last year, it's just exploded yet again. So
you joined the wrong community,
I did. I really did. Yeah. So anyway, Superman news.
That's what I was thinking about. I did these Walmart packs, and I got a Superman issue that was like one newer than the last one I bought.
Okay.
But I don't think that has come out since Corona ended. I think it was before, and I just missed it because I've been off and on, like quitting to buy Bendis's run, but somehow I tend to have almost all. So I don't think anything Superman related. I mean, at least solo has come out, just stuff like Justice League, and I think I got some new books here.
There's the newest Action came out because I bought that I think last week.
See, I thought that was last show. It was last week?
I think you had bought it maybe last show, and then I bought it the next week, is what it was.
What issue is it? I just want to make sure that...
Oh, hang on one sec.
What the heck?
122 or 1022.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So yeah, I think that is the same issue we talked about last time.
Yeah, because that you talking about it actually made me want to go get it. And it also starts the House of Kent chapter 1, so
I'm trying to see. I thought I had that Superman I was talking about here. I'm not seeing that. Huh. No, that's tonight's books. Yeah, I don't know.
And I guess the newest Superman anything would be Heavy Metal or Death Metal. So
yeah, he's not too heavily featured in it though.
Right.
I think they just sort of mention where he is.
So yeah, I saw an article. I didn't read it because it seems like an article that pops up every few weeks is that Henry Cavill wants to play Superman for years to come.
Yeah, I saw that too. I don't know if it was our last episode or if it was Fanboys where I thought he had signed a deal, or the rumor was he had signed like a 3-movie deal or something like that.
Right.
So
well, I mean, I never had a problem with him as Superman. It was more the writing, I guess, of the movie.
Yeah. Which now it's as much as we dislike Snyder, there's a ton of hype for the Snyder cut.
I am actually interested in that, if only to see Darkseid. So
yeah, like I'm interested because of Darkseid, and it seems there's going to be a bunch of heroes in it that weren't like Martian Manhunter, the Atom.
Right.
It seems like there's another one I'm forgetting about that was mentioned.
I actually really enjoyed everything past Batman Superman, and even Batman Superman was okay. It was mainly Man of Steel, like as the first introduction. It was a little too dark for me, but I think we get on this like every episode.
Yeah, we just talk about the latest Superman movie.
Yeah,
Well, I guess a little bit of Superman news. There was that action figure I'd messaged you about.
Oh,
The
right.
super realistic. I think it's Mezco. Christopher Reeve's Superman is coming out.
Right. Yeah, I believe it's $125. It comes with just an absolute ton of stuff, as you would expect.
Yeah.
Real cloth, like costuming. Comes with like the little crystal control console, I guess, with little crystals that you can like put in his hand, I believe.
You see, I'm so tempted to try a Mezco, but then I know I'd want to buy a bunch of them, and like I think they have Mezcos like right when you walk into the antique mall at STL
Oh,
Comics.
right.
And there's like a Green Lantern one sitting there, and I always stop and look at it, and I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't buy one, you know.
right. Buy one, you're gonna go down. You're gonna go
Yeah.
down that. Uh,
What's up, Warlord? Good to see you, man.
you're gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Did you get your Squatch boxes yet? Let us know in the chat. If you did, put in the chat what sketch you got. But yeah, I just found out that Warlord was James Woods on Instagram. I didn't know.
Oh,
Yeah, like oh, they're the same person. So,
yeah, it's weird when the two usernames don't match up.
Yeah, I tried to match mine up, but no luck.
Well, you got close.
Oh man, he's been waiting. He should have got that. I mean, he should have had him when we did the show. And what was that, a week ago? So, yeah. I don't think there's really much news. It's just the story, which I guess is good because it's a bit longer. But
right. So we can transition over to that. So this evening we're going to be looking at issues 44 through, I believe, 49.
Yep.
49 of Batman Superman. Go ahead.
I always forget there's 3 volumes like this, and I think this one is Superman Batman, and the other 2 are Batman Superman.
Okay.
I always forget, so I probably just got that wrong and it's backwards.
If you post just the logos, like I'll interpret it how I want to until I try to find like a trade of it and it's in the wrong spot.
Yeah. But this series is pretty cool for the most part. All the way through, it really sort of it shows you Clark and Bruce's thoughts and how they mirror each other and how they're similar but different.
Right.
Like all the way through, and it really this series in general really hits on legacy. Like you get to see there's an issue where Supergirl and Batgirl are in it, an issue where like Robin and Superboy, you know what I mean? Like they really bring that legacy all the way down, Huntress and Power Girl. And it really shows the dynamic and the relationship of Batman. And I think we talked about this before when we reviewed Man of Steel, that when they rebooted it, they weren't really friends. They were sort of frenemies.
Right. Yep.
And I think it was around this time when this series started going, when they really established them as friends again that wanted to be around each other.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this is my first introduction to this series. I'm not much one for team-up books, although that's not really the norm anymore. But historically, growing up, I never really got into Justice League or like the duo books, I guess. I was more just like the mainline superhero story.
Yeah.
So yeah, this for being the first sort of introduction to Batman Superman or Superman Batman, yeah, this is really great. So, like we said at the opening, tonight we're focusing on yet another Kryptonite storyline. So this takes place between issues 44 and 49, like we said, and issue 44 really kind of sets the stage for obviously all the other issues. So what happens sort of in this issue is that it kind of opens on this what you think is Batman and Superman talking in Gotham up on some gargoyle encrusted rooftops. and immediately, like Tim was saying, you get their you get their thoughts, and immediately the very first, other than saying where it's at, Gotham Towers, Batman says, "This is ridiculous," and Superman says, "This is hysterical."
Yeah.
So effectively, what happens is like they're shooting a movie about like a biopic or a biopic, however you pronounce it, of Batman, and of course, no one knows who Batman is, so they're getting literally every detail wrong.
I thought it was hilarious that the reason he's Batman is because he grew up in an abusive family whose mom used to beat the kids.
Right.
Until one day she went to beat him with a bat, and his sister jumped in the way.
Yeah.
So she's still in the hospital, but he fights to protect other people so they don't get beat up with bats. And he's Batman.
Yeah. The other literal interpretation.
The best part is, see if I can zoom in on it. It's hard for me to see. Right here. And Superman, let's go to your lab on the moon. And Batman's like, to the moon. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, then we get the cut, and then we realize that it's all just a movie set. So what sets the stage here is that at some point they have a chunk of kryptonite on the set, and it's presumed to be used, sort of in a future scene or what have you. But then out of nowhere, as Superman, the real Superman, and Batman are kind of hanging out, watching all this happens, Livewire shows up, which then causes them to sort of come into play. And through Livewire's sort of electrical attack powers, the kryptonite falls out of the protective box, explodes, shatters into dozens of pieces, and basically explodes right onto Clark's face. And we get to see some extreme pain reaction out of him, as you might have guessed. And so really this is kind of like the first sign of weakness that we sort of see that sets the stage again for the rest of this story. So Batman rushes him to, actually he calls in the JLA to see if anyone can come to the scene. And of course Flash shows up in his usual jokester manner, kind of saves...
Not just Flash, but the best Flash.
The best Flash, yes. This is still Wally. And he races Clark basically off to the Fortress of Solitude, and Batman gets Alfred to come and basically extract all the kryptonite pieces. And then what I thought was interesting at this point was, well, first of all, that Alfred really has a chip on his shoulder for some reason, more so than Alfred usually kind of does. But that as Superman sort of regains consciousness and kind of gets up and sort of walks around, he's talking to Batman, and this is like starting to show his kind of like morality, I guess, when he says, pieces of my homeworld, they should be a comfort to me. But instead, they're like, they're the one thing that, can actually kill him. And so, Superman or Batman's has some thought bubbles, and Clark just kind of walks away. He doesn't really want to talk about it. And Batman goes, I know that look, and it's shame.
Yeah.
And so we see Clark sort of walk off, and he talks in Kryptonian to the fortress, and it lets in a beam of sunlight, which, as we all know, is the healing power. And then a few days later, here I'll pop on that. Oh, sorry, I'm like actually watching the.
The live one.
Yeah, I'm doing this digitally, so I'm tabbing between StreamYard and the book, but then watching my iMac for the live stream, and I keep forgetting that they're like 5 seconds apart. So then we cut to, a few days later, Batman's returned to Gotham. He's taking out the average, gutter criminal, I guess. And then Superman arrives on the scene, and this is where we find out his idea, and this is what leads into all the other issues, and that Superman, has been doing a lot of thinking about Kryptonite. He won't be seen as like not a threat. He can do his job better, more effectively. He says it's embarrassing that there's so much kryptonite out there everywhere.
Yeah, he even points out like that movie set had real kryptonite,
right?
Because it would look authentic. But I love a line, I think it's in this book, where Superman's pitching this idea to Batman, and he's like, "Do you have any idea what it's like to know that any moment you could die? Because like anyone could have kryptonite."
Correct.
And Batman's like, "Yeah, there is a substance like that for me. It's called lead."
Yeah. There's a lot of good bits of writing in this series, and I was explaining to Tim before we went live that I wouldn't say I had trouble reading this series, but there were definite moments in here where you see people's, I guess, morality come into play. And it kind of rocks Superman's notion of who he is and what he's doing here.
Yep.
So effectively Batman sort of agrees, and then they go up to, I believe, the Watchtower. Yeah, they go up to the Watchtower, and Batman's like, we'll need a map, and he sort of triangulates all the different pieces of kryptonite throughout the world. And the very last page of this issue is, you just see a huge shot of the globe, and it's nothing but green. It's basically nothing but green.
It's an awesome art right there. Superman just looking at that.
Right.
Yeah, to answer Warlord's question, he's never died. He just gets trapped in the Speed Force a lot. That's what happened at the end of his solo series. That's what happened. That's what Dr. Manhattan did to him.
Oh, yeah, Wally? Yes.
Yeah.
The most sort of criminal handling.
Yeah. It really just comes down to new creators or editors take over that like other characters better, and they don't know what to do with these characters. They just know they can't really kill them because the fan base loves them.
Yeah, and then they kind of bring them back in monumental ways, and then immediately
devalue
them yet again.
Yeah, they made Wally basically the most powerful being in the universe, and the next time you see him after that, he's like defeated and has no power. So,
oh man,
we jump to 45, and the first thing you see is they're going around, they're gathering kryptonite. Superman has a lead-lined suit that Batman mentioned he would need at the end of last issue. And there's a lot going on. Oh, you get a lot of cool scenes of them initially going to get it. Like Batman walks into Arkham, and Joker has some hidden in a teddy bear. You see him like reaching into holes, reaching behind walls, going to museums and like stealing, taking it and leaving stacks of money. Which to me, it's fun. And one thing I will point out that we were even talking about before the show, your first thought about all this is Batman really seems to be going along with this easily.
Yeah.
Batman doesn't want Superman to die, but I can't see him being down with this, plan per se.
Right. My one question my one nitpick about this artistically is the suit that I guess Batman designs for him. Why does it need 3 Superman logos?
Yeah, I guess to look cool. Got one on the eyes and all that.
Yeah, and it's right between the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see they're gathering it, putting it underground in the storage thing with inside other little storage containers. And you see Toyman shows up. He wants to help. There's like a new good genius Toyman from Japan. They kind of blow him off because they're going down to get this really big chunk in the sea. So they get down there, and this huge chunk of kryptonite is like lodged in place. They're having trouble getting it out. When, of course, oh yeah, that was a really cool scene. It had affected this glowfish. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a great page.
Yeah, the thing in its mouth is kryptonite hanging there. So Superman easily defeats that. When, of course, Aquaman shows up, and I guess this isn't the normal Aquaman we know, because they're talking about like they don't know each other and he's new. So it's Aquaman.
I was wondering what the relationship was to this one.
See, I don't know. I guess the Aquaman we know was missing a hand, and I don't know what's up with him, where he is at this moment, but because I was never aware there was like a second Aquaman that looked just like the other one.
Right.
But that appears to be what it is. Well, basically, he's mad because this kryptonite's attached to Atlantis ruins, almost Atlantis historical ruins, and he's sick of people just doing whatever they want to Atlantis, and he doesn't want them touching it. So a fight ensues between Aquaman and Superman, and a bunch of people there. I think one of them's King Shark. Shark is even fighting Batman, which is pretty cool. I like the line, like, world's greatest fighter, how you going to do under the sea, mouth breather? I think Batman's answer was pretty much to flee. But they basically fight, and Superman eventually lets loose his heat vision, which is key because we didn't talk on it, but he had got a chunk in his eye, and Alfred had even told him, don't use your heat vision. So I guess he's healed up a bit now. I love the art with his eyes glowing.
Yeah.
Some of it in this story, like that, is really good, and some of it's kind of
Yeah.
Like we'll see at Luthor Tower later, without giving too much away. So basically, this story ends. It's as much a setup as any. It ends, they get that piece, and they take it back. But like you said, each book we sort of see somebody else's reaction to their plan, and this person's reaction really didn't have anything to do with what they're doing. It's that they're coming uninvited to his home and possibly damaging, historical site with no concern,
Right, which, like, I guess I'm at odds with that in that this is a different Aquaman, because thinking historically, the Aquaman during Doomsday, he was all bent out of shape that humanity was polluting the oceans. So I would think that he would want to get the kryptonite out.
Yeah, but then again, if he knows what it is,
right,
he might want it there because this to keep this person away from here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the part about this was when towards the end, Aquaman, Superman's trying to reason with Aquaman. He says, "I'm only trying to make the world safer for me to do my job." And then Aquaman says, "What made you think anyone would want that except you?"
Yeah. Which goes back to the Batman question. But yeah, it's true. And we're really going to see that question play out a little bit. But that is very true.
So we pick up issue 46. Yeah,
46.
46, yep. With sort of a brutal pounding of Metallo. And this, again, is leading into this whole idea of, again, I keep saying it, and I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but morality, right? It's like he needs to get the chunk of kryptonite powering Metallo out, but the very first panel is him literally beating his eyeball out of his out of the side of his skull.
Yeah.
And then like on the next page, it's basically like rips his, like punches through his back into his sternum.
I think the only time in this series, because your first thought, if you don't know a lot about Superman, would be, well, what if we get rid of the kryptonite and he's bad?
Right.
And this is really the only time in this whole story that even Batman's word bubbles are like, Clark is acting unstable.
Right.
He's acting, but they don't really go anywhere with it. Like, it's sort of like it's this little beating, and then we're back to the story as normal in a way.
Right. And then like I think like a couple pages later, there's a great panel where they showed them walking away from Metallo. Metallo's just clutching sort of his like chest, and they're just kind of walking away from him.
They did make him a new heart, though. We should mention
that. Correct. They did not leave him to just die.
Although that would have been a pretty awesome thing to just do there, make people wonder, like.
So they go back to the Batcave, and this was a great section as well, because they go through some of the different colors of kryptonite, and they kind of give just a little summary of what each one does. And for someone like me who doesn't have a whole lot of experience with all the different flavors of kryptonite, this was a great little few panels.
There's an Action Comics annual, like one of the last two that came out before New 52. And before this was the only place I had really seen all of that listed. Like in that issue, I think it's when the War of the Superman's happening.
Okay.
So Luthor is getting his kryptonite weapons out. And like I think he has a gauntlet that has all the different kryptonites in it, and that's where it sort of lists. Like the only other place I remembered seeing that before, but yeah, this is really cool.
So this issue, if last issue, sort of featured Aquaman, this one features basically Justice League Dark before they were Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
And
you talk about weaknesses at the beginning of the show. You said weakness to Superman. What's one of his other three big weaknesses?
You're putting me on the spot.
His magic.
Oh yeah.
And where do they have to go? Like that's why I brought it up, because you're about to say where they're going.
Yeah, so they make it to was it the Hellfire Club?
The Oblivion Bar.
The Oblivion Bar. I don't know why I said. Yes, the Oblivion Bar, and they get in and are immediately confronted, basically saying, we don't want you here.
How many places in the DC universe could you see that happen, and the people saying it aren't afraid and really don't have to be?
Right.
To talk to Superman and Batman like that, like not very many places could just be like, get out.
So effectively what they're looking for in this episode are a couple of strange pieces of kryptonite. They're basically imbued with magical powers, and in the Oblivion Bar they find one of the pieces, and it's shaped like a moon. And of course, sort of...
and this is new kryptonite. First appearance of a new kryptonite.
Right.
This is silver kryptonite. There's a better look at it laying there next to Superman.
And so effectively, as Superman is holding this amulet, he he gets coerced into touching it. And as with everything magic, once you touch it, it changes the flavor of the entire episode.
It's double dip for Superman, kryptonite and magic.
Right. So I really wish, and you'll have to like hold up this issue. These are the type of issues that I don't want to say current modern comics are lacking, but I have yet to encounter playfulness like this in current comics.
You know what's crazy about this? One of the multiverse universes, all the characters look like this.
Yeah.
It ain't this issue. Like, they don't really look like this.
Right.
But he's referencing this is how Superman sees everyone now.
So
like the little Gotham universe.
So basically Superman is turned into a child effectively, and he sees everyone else as children.
Yeah, and he acts like a brooding, undisciplined adolescent. Yeah.
Which then makes basically they Zatanna is there, and they effectively, have half the Justice League watch over Superman, while Batman is tasked with going to find the other half of this magical amulet, because if one amulet changes him into this stuff, then the other amulet will change him out of this stuff. And yeah, this this issue was a lot of fun from that sort of perspective.
Yeah.
And so Batman goes off to Dinosaur Island, and of course it's another another land of magical powers, which Batman, staunchly rejects, even though there's a panel of him petting a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah. Well, he hates these pocket universes. Yeah.
Warlord mentioned, doesn't Batman have a private stash of kryptonite? Oh, we will get to that. We will definitely get to that. So Batman is tasked with basically climbing into the heart of a volcano to retrieve.
I was showing Superman again.
Oh, you're fine. He has to traipse into the heart of a volcano in order to bring back the other half of this amulet duo. Meanwhile, it's flipping back up to the watchtower, and Superman's sitting there playing video games.
Yeah.
And I guess gets so frustrated that I think he heat visions the TV into oblivion. That or throws his controller, one of the two.
Yeah.
And of course, Batman rescues the other half of the amulet, which, when he picks it up, it basically, sort of shows him his heart's desire, which clearly shows his parents, obviously. And then in a somewhat unexpected, at least for me, turn, he's shows him sitting there kissing Zatanna.
Yeah. Before New 52, he had a pretty semi-serious relationship going with Wonder Woman.
Oh, really?
And an on again, off again with Zatanna. Yeah, he wasn't just all about Catwoman like nowadays.
Yeah. So he manages to bring it back and restores Superman's rightful way of thinking. He's back to normal, basically. And he's like, would someone please tell me what happened? And the next panel is a N64 floating off into space. And so this was kind of a fun sort of interlude from the last issue where, Aquaman basically challenged Superman's notion of whether or not people wanted him to be the hero that he thinks that people want him to be. And this is like where me I've been reading post-crisis and all that kind of stuff, that run, and it's like, yeah, everybody wants Superman to be like the savior. Mm-hmm. There's only a small subset of people who kind of want him to go away and things like that. So nice interlude issue.
Yeah, it really amps up next. This is issue 47, and this was the first issue I believe I had found of this series when I was collecting it back then. But this issue, they've basically they're getting pretty close to their goal. or so they think. And how did they? Yeah, okay. So a little bit out of order, but they were getting some off of an asteroid, and Batman, determined with detective skills that someone had been drilling on this asteroid for kryptonite, and weirdly enough, it led to this diner in the middle of Kansas. So you just open with this diner. Batman and Superman walk in, and this guy immediately pulls like a kryptonite gun on him. Right after that is when it shows him going to that asteroid and figuring all that out. But basically, they subdue this guy, and I love this part. This is just so Batman. The guy says he's not going to talk to him. Right here. This panel, I'll read what it says. Batman says, "No, Pete, you don't have to. You don't, meaning you don't have to talk, but I promise, given time, alone with me, you'll want to." That's just so... I mean, it's almost cliche. It's so classic Batman, but like I was saying, this story just hit me in the right place reading it. And Superman's noticing, oh, you got lead under the floors. Why is that? So they rip it up and they go down there. They get attacked by guns. They're shooting kryptonite. They rip it open a safe, and you see this huge room filled with kryptonite weapons. And of course, you as the reader's thinking, oh, this must be like, the Legion of Doom headquarters or some secret, maybe one-time villain or organization for this book. And it's like, no, it's the, Batman sort of indicating he's already figured it out. This is the United States government, which sort of like what Jason said, sort of everybody in this book is a dick to Superman. And it's sort of, I mean, I guess when you're that powerful, that's one way to really make them seem human, is people keep, doing dickish moves to them.
Right.
Well, then this task force shows up, and they're basically you find out they've been trained to fight and kill Superman if need be. So they're telling Batman and Superman, hey, you're trespassing, give up, because, we're allowed to kill you if we want. They ain't doing that. Batman does get took out quick by a speedster, and Superman's fighting like a mech suit. This stuff's powered by kryptonite, and it has kryptonite. They're being smart. They're cutting his suit off to get to him. Well, sure enough, you flip over the page, and you find out Amanda Waller's behind this. She has Batman captive while Superman's fighting. And this one guy, he's upset at Superman because his wife died when he was battling Doomsday. And to me, I just don't understand how people get mad like that, because it's like completely ignoring that Doomsday was there either way. Like,
right.
If Superman wouldn't have fought, like your wife probably would still be dead.
Right. This is probably the issue I had the most with the writing.
Well, you see, I just caught you in a paradox, because you said you like Batman versus Superman, and that's why Batman's mad at him.
Right.
That's pretty much exactly it. Only he was fighting Zod during that.
Yeah.
But Superman's using his intelligence and electrocutes all these people when they think they have him down. And that's when things really get interesting, because Amanda says we're unleashing the all-American boy, which is this guy. And this guy is a human infused with kryptonite and doomsday genetic material. That's just crazy. Like,
that is.
Like, if you don't get excited, if you're not excited for the next issue after this, like, why are you reading comics? Like,
right. So briefly, like this, actually, I think it's the next issue. I think is the one that I had the most trouble with, and I guess I'll go through it, because this one's mine.
Look at the draw.
Yeah, look at the draw. So issue 48 opens with essentially kind of a quick history lesson of who this new Doomsday mutant, I guess, is. And basically he much like anything else, he volunteered in the Army or the armed forces for this experimental program. Little did he know that he was getting to be turned into
I was just laughing at Warlord's last comment. He's talking about when I said him and Batman.
Yeah.
Or Batman and Wonder Woman were dating.
So let's see, where am I? So yeah, Superman is effectively spending the majority of this issue fighting this new Doomsday.
Yeah, the all-American boy.
The all-American boy. And meanwhile, Amanda Waller, clearly thinks that she has the upper hand on Batman, and the whole gist of this sort of part of it is that she intends to unmask Batman. Gives a lot of hot air, I guess, into why she's doing these things, and of course it's
sort of what we talked about, why people wouldn't want Superman to get rid of Kryptonite,
right?
And this sort of takes the super, Cold War paranoid government approach that Superman is too dangerous, so we need Kryptonite just in case. But Amanda Waller is really taking that like we should just kill him to be safe. You know?
And that's really sort of that's kind of the issue I'm having with this issue is I know Amanda Waller is she does this because no one else will and no one else wants to, and that's kind of a testament to how good, I guess, this sort of series is that in reading this issue, I'm just like, man, like I want to I want to be the one to prove Amanda Waller wrong, It's like,
yeah. Well, sort of like what we said about the guy mad that his wife died during the Doomsday fight. If you're Amanda Waller with that kind of security clearance, she knows way more about what the Justice League and Superman have done to save Earth than a citizen.
Right.
And you think you're going to be better off with Superman gone?
Right. That's, I guess, that not to jump ahead or skip ahead into summary or whatever, but I think that's kind of the overarching thing is all these people are like, what if we don't want you to do this? What if we don't want you to be this person? And in my head, I'm just like, no, don't you know what's going to happen if Superman's not on this earth?
Exactly.
So
one thing it does do wrong, it does show you the absolute worst of every person that doesn't want Superman to get rid of Kryptonite.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily need to do that, but that being said, it really hits home every issue. Every issue you could stop and think, and it's
right.
It's good for what it is.
So next we flip back to Superman fighting the Doomsday, and this is where the writing for me really fails. I essentially, Superman gets pounded up through the earth right next to the diner and is rocketed an indeterminate amount of miles, I guess, away from this, and he lands right outside of a sign advertising Smallville being 5 miles away. And at this point, I kind of wah.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you really need to take it back to Smallville? I guess it kind of hammers this home, right, in a certain sense that it's going back to where Superman all started. And, if you think back to Lex being from Smallville, if that is this Lex that grew up with Superman.
I think so.
It stands to reason, I think at the end of this issue we'll see, but it stands to reason why there would be a covert Kryptonite factory right outside Smallville. So action ensues both with back inside with Batman taking on the task force team. They've sort of woken up a bit, and Superman fighting Doomsday, getting closer and closer to Smallville. Superman starts recognizing everyday citizens.
Yeah, like, hey, I worked at that gas station. Like,
Right.
no, you didn't. I've
Yeah.
never seen that in the comic.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Superman's, clearly trying to lead All-American Boy away from Smallville, but they just keep getting closer and closer and closer.
Imagine if, like, one of us walked up to our wife one day and we're like, hey, I got an All-American Boy action figure. And then you pulled this character out. Sorry.
And then, yeah.
I tickle myself a little bit. Because they'd be thinking, like, is that the mate for All-American Girl? And
right.
this weird Doomsday.
No, it's just a Kryptonite Doomsday.
Yeah.
And then that's when they go, wah, wah. And
yeah, they're like, don't you already have 3 Doomsdays? Don't worry about how many Doomsdays I have.
But this one has green horns instead of white horns.
Exactly. I gotta have something for my armored Superman to fight.
So then, as you'd expect, the action, if they're in Smallville, they're going to Superman's going to be mysteriously punched right into the Kent's house.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just showing this panel of All-American Boy. Super cool.
And of course, Pa Kent comes out with like a baseball bat.
Yep.
It's like,
see, they're tying it in. Remember the beginning, baseball bat.
Oh man, this is a lot deeper than even I thought.
It all ties in.
So they're effectively trying to slow Doomsday down, All-American Boy, Doomsday, whichever, until Batman can sort of rally the troops. So what happens to Batman in the Kryptonite factory, I guess, or storehouse, is that he eventually convinces this task force team that Amanda Waller has basically overstepped her bounds, and they essentially quit, whatever they're doing and working for her, and Batman convinces them to help him. And so towards the end of the book, we actually see, knowing that All-American Boy was once a human, that he has some humanity left in him, and he
Batman look like he's saying Martha there.
Yeah.
All-American Boy.
All-American Boy, Batman effectively goes and hunts down his parents, because the original, or the non-All-American Boy, All-American Boy, lived close by this, because of course he did. So they come and sort of calm him down, essentially. That's the only thing that can stop him is having his parents there. And I was half expecting him to do something I don't know, crazy at that point, but Batman effectively pulls the rug out from under Amanda Waller's feet by essentially having all the evidence he needs to kind of make her go away should that get brought to light. And so effectively he bargains with her to give back that information for essentially figuring out, destroying all the kryptonite guns and all that stuff that was in there. And there we find out, again, this wouldn't be a proper kryptonite story without some involvement from Lex Luthor or Lex Corp. And so we find out that Amanda Waller didn't actually manufacture all the guns, but they bought them. And Superman picks up one of the guns and looks at it, and engraved there right above the trigger is the Lex Corp logo.
You know what the most unbelievable part of the story is?
What's that?
Bruce Wayne came to eat dinner at their house.
Right.
Since when do Martha and Jonathan know his identity?
Oh, that is true. I mean,
yeah, Lois maybe, but like Jonathan and Martha Kent, why do they need to know?
Maybe they told him and they just skipped over that part.
What's up, Star Taker?
Hey.
So we come to the end of the Search for Kryptonite story. And this really encapsulates everything we've seen. Like the ultimate dick move happens in this issue. So it starts off with them going to LexCorp, and I was trying to rack my brain because they referenced that Lex Luthor's off-world.
Right.
So the only thing I could definitively put my finger on is Batman mentioned to Amanda Waller, "You're not going to send us to a prison planet." So I'm pretty sure this is like when Salvation Run was happening, maybe.
Okay.
And all the villains were being sent to that prison planet, I would assume. So, and that sort of leads up to Final Crisis anyway, where Luthor's everywhere. But they're heading to LexCorp, and of course they're being attacked by Kryptonite tip missiles.
Yeah.
Well, long story short, Lana Lang is running LexCorp, and Superman has hopes that, we could, I'm sure, it's a misunderstanding, and Batman's like, I'll be able to tell if she's lying. So he goes up, to the office, like you see him doing with Lex a lot, floating outside, and she's like, come in. So basically, just to get down to what's going on, she's taken her job as CEO really serious. And she's talking about, yeah, I did this. I made these weapons, but it's to keep my families, the people that work for me, their families fed, to keep jobs going. And Superman's like, how can you do that to me? How many times have you helped save me from Kryptonite? And they sort of almost tie in Smallville a little bit. Did you notice that? Like the Freak of the Week comment? And he's basically like, well, Batman's going to find where you're holding the Kryptonite, and he's going to blow your systems. And that's going to be the end of it. And that's when she pulls the card that they don't just have one stockpile, they have thousands. And if you make a move on any single one of those, I'll press this button here, and they'll all blow and disintegrate, shooting up all of that kryptonite into the air, and it would just make Earth unlivable for you or your cousins or any of them. And basically, Superman, still having trust in humanity and in her, calls her bluff, and she pushes the button, which blows up all the kryptonite, shoots it up into the atmosphere, and you just see him in the watchtower looking down. Batman's making preparations to get Lois and all that. And that's when they get a call from Toyman. He was talking about using these nanobites to get 4 ounces of kryptonite out of the air. Well, basically, he's made enough to get all of it out of the air. And he wants to join the Justice League or get a date with Power Girl. And I just love Batman's quick response. We have a decommissioned Power Girl robot. And he's like, done.
Yeah.
And they're like, you could release the nanobots. He's like, I already did. What kind of a jerk do you think I am? Like, he was going to save Superman anyway. So there you can see like the nanobots, and the picture slowly grows out so you can see it's like on an apple. So these nanobots clear it all. It jumps to, for some reason, Lois, Clark, and Bruce Wayne running into each other at that movie premiere. See, it all ties in. The Batman movie premiere. And I like how it even shows that, am I showing it right? The real Power Girl shows up to take him on a date.
Right.
And here's where I didn't really like his eyes. It's just not enough for me.
Right.
And it's like a wrong place. Like, no matter what she did, Superman ain't gonna kill Lana. So to me, it's like a bad place to use it. The little conversation where he basically says, getting down to the gist of it, if you ever wondered why I wound up with Lois instead of you, Lois wouldn't have pushed the button, and flies away, which is pretty heavy thing to do. And it switches immediately to them throwing all the kryptonite in the sun. Batman wants them to throw it on the Earth side so the Earth can see that they've did it. And in a way, another story, in fact, the story we did last week, our last episode, we talked about that's where Superman gave Batman the ring. Well, in another sort of turn of events, similar, Superman saved some of the kryptonite and gave it to Batman. And a similar thing, like I need someone to be able to take me down if it comes to it. And I just love, we were talking about this beforehand. I'm like, Batman's personality, the way he just went along with this, none of it makes sense until you get to the final page of the story when he goes to a lead line vault to put the kryptonite Superman gave him away. And he has a giant vault filled with every kind of kryptonite.
Yeah, that.
So it's like, Batman's like, I don't want anyone else to be able to kill you, but I want to be able to kill you.
And he even has the amulets as well. So
which is weird because I thought they said they destroyed the. Oh yeah, well, duh. He said they destroyed it. Of course they didn't.
Of course they didn't. Yeah. Yeah. This page, especially the huge stockpiles, like over his shoulders.
Yeah, and he has every color.
Yeah. So, yeah, this. Oh man, this. I guess we can go into summaries. This whole storyline was kind of a roller coaster that I wasn't necessarily expecting.
Will you pop back to double screen real quick?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I forget I have that on sometimes.
No problem.
Yeah, so the story is like it was kind of an emotional roller coaster because like every issue there was someone else there just being an absolute like dick.
Yeah.
The Superman, so it's on the one hand it's knocking Superman down a few notches, to give him this sense of that, hey, like not everyone wants you to be like a savior. Like not not even other superheroes, but like
isn't that what Aquaman said? Something like you're showing your lack of humanity or something like that.
Yeah. And it's just it was a nice sort of like but sort of tragic, I guess, in a sense that he had to find out like this way. It's like he's just like, I just want to get rid of kryptonite so I can do my job better, and so that I don't have this impediment because there's so much kryptonite now, and that's embarrassing for me, given that's the thing that can like kill me.
Yeah, they mentioned a whole bunch showed up when Supergirl came. Well, Supergirl was reintroduced, like, I think around the teens, like 12, 13 of the series.
Okay.
Because, like, I think the actual Supergirl had been gone since Crisis, and I'm not 100% if this is them bringing the original back or what.
All right.
But, like, an actual Supergirl that wasn't Matrix.
Gotcha.
Was this Supergirl coming back then?
So, yeah, it's interesting. And then the whole Lana sort of, I was actually somewhat bummed that it didn't explore, at least in like one more issue, like what the world was like when he couldn't go back down there.
Yeah, it would have been neat. I think there's lots of different ways to do a good Superman story, but one like this is good. Because right at the beginning, you see him like Batman used the word ashamed.
Yeah.
Well, another good word would be scared.
Right.
When have you ever seen Superman lose one of his eyes for a period of time?
True.
You know what I mean? So right there, you humanize him. And with the fact that they're going after Kryptonite the whole episode, the whole story, he's in danger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have that part to it. But the other way to make Superman weak, like you said, is everyone's being a dick. Like it makes Superman, I believe you even said this earlier, question who he is and why he's doing this.
Right.
Like especially when they found Amanda Waller's stash, he's like, this is my country, the country I defend, the country I love, and they're stockpiling weapons to kill me.
Right.
Like right there, that's one of the ways, in my opinion, a good way to explore Superman. And that did this pretty well. I mean, think about it, ends with the person he trusts the most to give what he thinks the last of it to.
He's got a big old stockpile of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's crazy.
Until I hit that last page, in my head, I was like, that can't be the last bit of it. And yeah, sure enough, there's a huge stockpile of it. in Batman's I'm assuming lead-lined
Yeah.
crypt, I guess.
I know Luther has some other stockpiles nobody knows about too, but yeah. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
because I think they made mention of that at some point in one of the issues that there was a lot more than they thought because a lot of it was behind lead at the time, or they were speculating on how much that was there really because of it being kept behind lead.
Yeah.
So overall,
what's your review, your score? What you think?
we still haven't figured this out. Eight.
Yeah, we always forget between episodes to come up with a grading system.
Well, I'll take a page from sort of Fanboys Live, I guess. On a scale of 1 to 5, I give the art kind of like, I don't know. I had some problems with it here and there. Some nitpicky like shadowing didn't make sense at some points, where it kind of drew me out, and the whole like 3 Superman logo on his like suit like threw me off, and especially the one like right in the middle of his eyes.
Be honest, if Mark McFarlane made that a toy next week, you'd go buy it.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, of course. I just questionable design choices. But the overall penciling and things of that nature, I got kind of like a Image Comics popped into my head when I was reading some of this. Like it could have been like a Jim Lee or like a Willis Portacio kind of artist. And
I just remembered a bit of Superman news I'm gonna show at the end here.
All right. And I liked it. I liked it once I started reading it, but at the beginning I was like, I don't know about some of this like artwork. And I like Jim Lee and Willis Portacio and stuff like that. Anyway, artwork I give kind of like a 3 to 4. Like it wasn't super mind blowing, like a Dan Jurgens or something like that, which I consider that to be high praise. The story again is like, if they wouldn't have gone to Smallville, I think I would have rated it. I mean, I would give it a 4 because the overall story was great. It had, like I said, it was kind of a roller coaster in some points where I found myself actively hating some characters for being dicks to Superman. And that's a natural part of, reading comic books, to get that kind of emotional response out of it, not just, the happy stuff.
Yeah.
And like continuity and stuff like that, I can't judge that because these are like literally the only issues of this series and really of this era that I think I've kind of read. So, but overall, yeah, I mean, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I think between this one and the last series we reread, I think I'd give it to the last series just because I'm still like really into that era.
Yeah.
But it was definitely like a good read. Like I was actively looking forward to like reading the next issue.
Talking about art, I'm just showing a couple of the good covers.
The covers were fantastic.
Yeah. Some were really great. Like these, I mean, really stick out.
Yeah.
But then something like, I mean, that's average.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one was.
I mean, the Aquaman, if it wasn't Aquaman choking Superman, that would be average. So, I mean, they're good. The story, I'd give a little bit better than you. I have some nitpicks like you. I think this is a 4.5, and I would probably give the art a 4.5. But for me, when I came back into comics was around this time. So a lot of the first comics I was reading was this art sort of like this guy or Doug Mahnke, Jim Lee, people like that where it's almost, I know people don't like this almost realistic. And to me, when I see art like that looks realistic, I almost feel like the characters are in more danger.
Right.
Like everything's more real then. But part of why I give this art another high notch is when Superman was mind controlled with the magic kryptonite, that same artist switched into goofy cartoony and did a lot of really good, like that issue is just such a breath of fresh air in the middle of this because it can make you laugh. Like you said, the N64 floating in space, the little cartoon red tornado. I mean it. So, and I like stories like this that are good, have you on the edge of your seat, where you feel like something bad could happen, like when that kryptonite goes into Superman's eye, and it kind of hits you like, oh my gosh, like this is real. And I also like stories that make you laugh, like a Harley Quinn, where it's just goofy, you know what I mean? Like old timey comics. So I think this hit all those points. And not going. We'll just judge story and art.
Cool.
So I mean, at least for tonight, I think they're both 4.5. I really enjoyed them, and I thought it was a great concept. The thing that bugged me the most was that Batman went along with it at the beginning with less. Like there should have been more back and forth there before agreeing to it. Right. If you get what I mean. Of course, you sort of see his motivation at the end, but that's sort of. I was like, Batman isn't acting like Batman. And then, like, you see him threatening that guy, like, you'll want to talk. And I'm like, hey, he's acting like Batman again. Yeah. So, right. I even messaged you today when I got done. Like, I've been saying I've been burnt out on comics, and this made me be like, I want to get some more. Like, let's just read this whole Batman Superman series.
Right. So, cool. Yeah, that was another fun read.
Definitely.
We've been lucking out. I've enjoyed all these books that we've been reading, and a lot of times this is my first intro to this stuff. So, all right, well, real
we've
quick.
Been all over the place in our stories, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I mean, to like DC Presents, to old 80s, to newer stuff, to Action 1. You know, it's
Superman's what, 80 years old, something like that.
Yeah,
we've got plenty of material to go through.
Exactly.
So real quick, you had some stuff to show. I just had really one issue to show. I picked this up last week in a haul that I did. It's, what is it? DC Comics Presents Annual 1983 number 2. I'm fairly certain you probably have this one.
Is that the Shazam one?
No, it's the Superwoman one.
Oh yeah, that I'm not sure exactly which story that is, because I believe she's an annual 2 and 4 or 1 and 2.
Okay, so this one is
like the origin.
This is like the origin. So this is like she's essentially from the future, and
that was a good one.
She comes back and helps Superman out.
Yeah, I'm really falling in love with DC Presents, and I've read all 4 annuals, and they're all fantastic. Awesome. I believe 2 have Superwoman, 1's the one we reviewed, and then the other one has Shazam.
Okay.
But it's so funny, I couldn't think of nothing to show, and I just remembered something new that will be my real book show is. But I'm like, I haven't showed anything in this box, and I was actually looking for my first New Teen Titans, which is DC Presents, but that's in a different box. And I saw this issue, which is 95, and I'm like, hey, Jason loves Hawkman, so I'll show him this issue. And then I just grabbed my oldest World's Finest, which is issue 170.
Right on. Yeah,
that was gonna be my show, but I just remembered a bit of news. So anyone that watching, and are you reading Dead Earth, Jason?
I'm not. No.
Dead Earth?
No.
Okay, so spoilers for anybody watching, because you're gonna be spoiled, and it's pretty crazy. This, of course, is like a lot like Last Night, where Wonder Woman wakes up and it's like an apocalyptic world, and she's finding out what's going on, right? Basically the story of what's happening. Well, in this one, she's trying to figure out what happened to Superman, and they go to the Fortress of Solitude, and I'll just show a couple things because it's pretty wild. Like, they're talking about pilgrims and stuff would go to the Arctic to beg Superman to come out. Like, look at this scene. Just thousands of skulls dead outside the fortress in this world.
Oh, that's crazy.
So Wonder Woman, of course, could pick up the key and get inside, and they get in there. A Superman robot's talking to them, and they come across this.
Oh, wow.
Long story short, Wonder Woman actually killed Superman and had a fit of rage because Themyscira got nuked, and she blamed him. So she had like punched into a case and grabbed Kryptonite and killed him. And in the fight, like you had heard in the story, the great fire that came, that was her fight with Superman. the blows and explosions that had destroyed the Earth. Well, that ain't the crazy part. At the end of this book, they're getting ready to go do whatever they're going to go do next. She goes and rips his skull and his spinal cord out and wraps her lasso through it. So she now has a Superman skull and spinal cord lasso to fight with.
Oh, no.
You talk about, like, I've been reading comics for years. It's hard for something to come across and shock me, or maybe even make me question what I'm doing.
Is that a
collected comics? Like I don't know if this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, or if it's too far, or what. Like,
is that
issue 3?
Okay, so that is more than just a one shot.
Yep, I believe it's going to be 4 issues. It's at least 4.
Okay.
This is issue 3. This just came out 2 weeks ago, but I just got around. I read Death Metal before I got to this and lost my will to read.
Yeah.
But man, I love that cover too. Like,
yeah, I've seen that.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this series. I'm not a fan. I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a fan of this art. I don't like the art. That being said, I love this series. The story is so good it'll make you forget the art's terrible. And there are parts where the art does work a little bit too, where you're like, oh, this is pretty good, you know.
All right. Well, I'll have to check it out next time I'm out and about.
Yeah, but think of like a Wonder Woman's lasso inside of Superman's spinal cord and skull. Like, that's, I don't even know how to take that or process it yet. So
all right, guys. Well, we're more than well over an hour, so I think we'll end it here. Thank you so much for joining both live and on replay. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
And so real quick, my name is Jason. I'm RetroTigo. You're currently on my YouTube channel if you're watching this.
Mm-hmm.
And on Instagram, I am RetroTigo as well. And I'm kind of in a summer malaise a little bit for publishing content, but lately I've been doing run-throughs of some of the old trading card series I have, the Marvel and the DC trading cards, and just some odds and ends here and there. But I should be getting back to doing some impression videos, as I call them, basically mini summary / review videos. But then other than that, just haul videos when I go out and do them. And then whatever else pops into my head that day that I want to make a video of. I seem to have all these grand ideas, but yet put them to the back burner and make just a random video that I thought of that day. So
yeah, I'm a comic collector here on YouTube, of course, like you see on the screen. Tim_the comic collector on Instagram and Twitter. I'm probably more active on Instagram than anywhere.
Right. Me too.
But on YouTube, of course, we are taking a break from Fanboys this week. So in 2 Saturdays, 8 days from now on my channel, we'll be reviewing Infinite Crisis Fight for the Multiverse, which is, I think, based off a video game. So outside of that, I do that show. I do this show. Next episode of this will be on my channel too. But sort of talking about doing different things. Like, I've been doing collection videos. I'll do hauls when I get them. But I was thinking about doing something called, like, maybe the Collector's Corner.
Oh,
where I either just discuss topics, or I even thought about doing what you did, maybe doing little reviews of stuff. Because all the time you'll think of something you want to review that it might take 2 months to get on a show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then also, I don't know if I have the patience to do it, but I've been wanting to do like a This Day in DC History.
Oh, that'd be cool.
You know, like, July 1st, what books have maybe came out, Google what came out on a July 1st and find a good one and be like, well, hey, or maybe even there was 3 or 4 comic book days on July 1st. And if I happen to have those issues, which is a part of it too, be like, well, this is what was going on. And, 20 years ago. So,
well, this is the time to do it with hopefully, like a bunch of summer events that have come out in the past years. There might be a really good stockpile of good days out there. So
Well, I think what just happened was, like I said, like the burnout on comics a little bit, and even YouTube a little bit. But
Right.
we'll talk about that a little bit more after. But yeah, definitely check out both of us. Make sure if you're not following either one of us on Instagram or YouTube, do hit that bell so you don't miss an episode of this.
Right.
Unless you hate Superman.
Unless you hate Superman, and then why are you watching?
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you the next one, 2-3 weeks. Kind of that's what we've been doing. So if we don't talk to you before then, have a good weekend, and we'll see you soon. See you guys.
Be safe.